Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at the Aries X1. And in this video, I really wanted to keep it raw and show you a lot of riding footage. If you like this format, drop a comment down below and let me know. And if you're looking to pick up the board, use the discount code Dallas and you'll save $40 off. So if you're looking for more close-up shots of the board, check out my first video. That shows you a lot more of the details that made the X1 really unique. This is my first longer ride on the board. I've been around the neighborhoods a little bit, but this is the first time I've actually taken it out to kind of see what the board can do. And I've been really pleasantly surprised. Let's start out with the deck. It's a forged carbon fiber deck. It's got great concave and it's got a really nice amount of drop down. Not too much where your foot gets sore and not too little where you feel like you're just gonna fly off at the slightest bump. It has no flex to it, so when you're putting down a lot of torque, the board feels stable and predictable. 2022 seems to be the year of the TKP truck when it comes to electric skateboarding. The TKPs, or traditional kingpin, are really interesting on this board. They're CNC'd, so they're made at a really high precision and high quality. They pair that with precision washers, custom bushings, and just kind of a lot of attention to detail in here. And you feel it when you're riding. It feels stable, but you can also carve a ton. If you need to maneuver, it's got it, but at the same point, if you're popping up to 35 miles an hour, let's say, it feels really locked in. I'm really enjoying the trucks. They're much carvier than I thought they would be, and I think people are gonna really like these. Most of all, I'm happy to see boards coming out that are high power that aren't on dual kingpin trucks. DKP are fun for slower speeds, but at higher speeds, I just don't find them predictable enough. Look at how much I can maneuver around these planters and these trees without ever having to adjust the trucks. I came right off of riding over 30 miles an hour into this section and can spin all around this stuff without a problem. I will say there is no perfect truck. Sometimes you want more carve, sometimes you want more stability. TKP is proving to be a nice balance of both. I would say that it carves a little more than RKP, and RKP is a little bit more stable. So maybe this is a 60-40 carve to stability versus RKP being a 60-40 stability to carve. A-Stec didn't stop there when it came to CNC parts. The wheels on this board are so nice. They're fully aluminum, they're CNC'd as well. They ride amazingly smooth. They felt extremely balanced right out of the box, and I really like them. A-Stec also chose a really nice tire to pair with these wheels. They're 200 millimeters tall, or 8 inches, and that is my preferred size. Originally, I started out on 6-inch and then just moved my way up. These 8s are great. They're comfortable over everything. I can go over these bumps in this sidewalk and not feel it nearly as much as other wheels. So if you're looking for comfort and grip, these 8-inch tires are where it's at. 8-inch tires are also one of the most commonly used tires across a lot of different things like mobility, scooters, and all sorts of stuff. So you find that you have a lot more options of tires out there, and the prices are a little bit better too than like 6-inch. The board has 4 belt drive motors, 6389s, so it has plenty of torque and power, way more than you probably would ever need. It's just absolutely incredible how fast this board is off the line. And really where all that power is coming from is the awesome battery that they chose to put in this. It's a 14S, so that means it's a higher voltage than most boards that are out there at their 12S. So it's a 14S 4P of P42A, the best sell on the market for PEVs when it comes to power, torque, and a good mix of having enough capacity of range in there too. This board is absolutely insane. It's so fast. They say the board can go from 0 to 37 miles per hour in the fastest mode in 4.5 seconds. That's just crazy fast, and I absolutely believe it can do it. I haven't exactly timed it down to the 0.2 time, but I can tell you that 0 to full speed is terrifyingly fast. It'll spin the front wheels if you don't have enough weight in the front, which is so hard to do when the board just wants to send you to the moon. The X1 has 4 different speed modes. You can switch these on the remote, and they include Low, Eco, Sport, and Sport Plus. I'm going to compare all 4 speed modes so you can see what the difference in acceleration is. The first one is Low. Then you have Eco. Then you step up to Sport. And then of course, Sport Plus. Now it's difficult to really capture on film how fast this feels when you're on the board. It's the fastest board I've been on for sure off the line, and if you're not ready at any speed when you're going, it will throw you off the board if you just hammer it. It's much easier to go full speed once you're rolling, but from a standstill, just throwing it all the way to 100% is really difficult, but is incredibly intoxicating. It's just so much fun. Here you can see all 4 modes compared. Sport is probably the most like a regular board, quote unquote, that I've ridden. And that feels like what I'd ride in most of the time. But Sport Plus is just leaps and bounds faster than the other modes. The X1 uses dual ESCs, one on each side of the board. Each one can put out 50 amps and has been developed directly by Acetec. Most of the modes have a really smooth acceleration curve. I will say that Sport Plus, because they're just dumping all of the power into it, feels a little jerky, but I don't know how you could make it not when it's just taking off so fast. It's not unpredictable, it's just instant power. Now, since this board is 4-wheel drive, the brakes on it are out of this world. When you want to stop, it's gonna stop. You can adjust your brakes, which is great, right from the remote, and it's a 0 to 100 scale. I found that in like the 30s feels pretty good. When it first came, it was at 50, I think 50 or 55, and when I barely touched it, I mean, it just locked up the tires. I can't imagine anyone ever needing it at 100. That just seems insane. But yeah, like 30 something, depending on your weight, where you're riding, if you're doing a lot of hills and things like that, you may want to adjust it. But you can do that right from the remote, and it's easy to do. Speaking of the remote, it's a nice remote. It's got a typical thumb wheel on the top. It charges by USB-C, and it does have a screen, so it gives you your telemetry while you're riding, which is nice. You can see your speeds, all that kind of stuff, and you can adjust a lot of the features of the board from the remote. The X1 feels absolutely awesome on the pavement, but what really surprised me was how stable it feels when you get into the dirt. Typically, boards just want to kick out that rear end when you get into sand and stuff. This thing, because it's 4-wheel drive, while it's pushing you, it's also pulling you, and it just gives this amazing feeling of stability. It's the most I've ever felt when I'm in the dirt on a board. If you ride in the dirt, like dirt paths and stuff a lot, 4-wheel drive is what you really should have. It's just an awesome, awesome feeling. But then as you can see, I jump back onto the pavement and the thing just carves perfectly. This is a really nice balanced board when it comes to usability. I can cruise on the pavement or I can jump right into the dirt and both feel great. There are always some compromises you make, but having a board that can handle like multiple terrains is key for me. And that's why I don't ride street wheels that much. Street wheels are fun on really nice paths and stuff, but I find myself in the real world more than really nice paths a lot. So I just like to be on a pneumatic tire that can like handle those rocks like I just went through, and it's not an issue at all. A really unique feature of this board is the ability to turn it on from the remote for 48 hours after you turn the board on once from the board. So the first time you turn it on, you reach down, you press the ESC on both sides of the board, it turns on and it's connected to the remote and everything. From there, you can, when you turn off your remote, the board's going to turn off. And then the next time you turn on the remote, the board will turn on, and it will do that for 48 hours as long as you turn it on once within that time. So I thought that was an interesting way of handling that. That means later on, like if you're not planning on riding the board for a few days and someone like messes with the remote, the board's not going to just turn on. So I kind of like that little like window, and it makes it really convenient. So when you stop, you can turn off your board and your remote all in one kind of button press, which is awesome to do and not have to like bend down every single time. You can run this board in 2-wheel drive or in 4-wheel drive. 2-wheel drive is okay, it's not nearly as fun in my opinion, and really 4-wheel drive is where this board shines. Now 4-wheel drive does have some drawbacks, the biggest one being you use more battery. Luckily on this board, it's got a big battery. It's got a 14S 4P P42A, so it's got 870 watt hours. That's a fairly large battery. It's not gigantic, but this board already weighs, with the motors and everything, 42.5 pounds. To give you an idea, my Flux, my really big board, weighs 45. So this is almost the same amount. So this is not a lightweight board. So I can see why they didn't want to go with like a 10P or something crazy in there. Now they say the range is around 27 miles, and I believe that. On this ride, I went 15 miles and I used around 50%. So can I get 27? I think I can, even in 4-wheel drive. I'm going to do a full-on range test, like long ride on it, but this was just me kind of shaking out the board and getting used to riding it before I do just a direct range test. And that was four-wheel drive the entire time, having fun, not holding back, going up into the like mid 30s, probably 34, 35 miles an hour on this ride, and having a lot of fun with it. And I still got 15 miles with just under, I'd say probably like 47% battery left, 48% batteries where I was. So I totally think I can get 27 miles out of this board. And it's time to keep it real. Where are there opportunities in this board to improve it? What would make it a little bit better? I'll give you a few. One, I think that it'd be great to have different durometer bushings available for different weight riders. These are fine for me, but I don't know if I was heavier or lighter, maybe I'd want something different. And because they're like a certain thickness, I think they're proprietary. I don't know if I can just find off-the-shelf bushings. So that's something to note. I'd like to see them come out with some bushings. Outside of that, also the weight of the board, it's 42.5 pounds. Like I said, it's a big board. And a lot of that weight comes from the four-wheel drive. So it's a not really a con, it's a trade-off. If you want something lightweight and like easy to carry through a store, this is not that board. I wouldn't carry this into like a college classroom. This would be just way too like bulky and big, and you got the motors on both sides and stuff. So I think that for stuff like that, it's not it. This isn't the board for that. The charge port on the top of the truck, that's how you charge the board. You open up this little rubber cover and there is your charge port. It's okay. It's hard to get the plug on this one to go back in. There's kind of a little technique to it. Once you start to figure it out, it's not as bad. You just push the far side like right here in first, and then the barrel part will just kind of follow and it'll align. But it is hard to push that in. I'd like to see a better rubber cap. It seems like a small thing, but you do interact with this all the time. And the last thing that really kind of stood out to me as an area where I'd like to see a change is the top speed in sport mode is 31, but in sport plus it's 37. Now riding in sport plus is kind of touchy because it's got so much power. So I'd like to be able to ride in sport where my acceleration is just a little bit less from insanity mode, and I can still hit like 37 though. So it's kind of like I got to be going in this insane mode to get up to top speed instead of being able to do it from sport. So there are advanced settings inside the remote where it looks like I can change that stuff, but I'm waiting for confirmation from Astec to tell me, yes, like here's how you change that so that I can adjust those speeds. And if I can, that would be great. If I can't, it's not the end of the world. 31's fine, and if I really want to go faster, I can go into the really, really fast mode. But I'd like to see it be able to hit 37 in sport as well. My final thoughts on this board are it's an absolute ripper. I think Astec has raised the bar for import boards by including this level of precision and thought throughout the entire process, using techniques like CNC for the wheels and for the trucks, and bringing in 14S 4P using P42A, larger motors. I mean, this is just a well thought out board, and you can see it and you can feel it when you ride it. I'm enjoying riding the X1 way more than I thought I would. It's a really amazing combination of parts in here to make an experience that is very different than other boards. The four-wheel drive, the TKP, the power of the battery, all mixed together. It's a good experience and it's really, really fun. And I find myself reaching for the board. Now, on this channel, I keep it real. I keep it fully transparent. And I tell all the brands that whenever they contact me to review something. So, with that in mind, after about 4 rides, the board stopped turning on. One side of the ESC isn't turning on. Nothing happened while I was riding. I didn't go through any water or anything like that, and it didn't like cut out or anything like that. It's just that when I went to ride the board again, only one side is turning on. So I contacted Astec. They said, no problem, we're going to drop you a new ESC in the mail and I'll replace it. And I'll report back how that process goes. They are a new brand, but so far they've been instantly communicating with me. And that's not always the case. Even when I'm reviewing boards, sometimes I reach out for asking for information and they don't really give it to me. They kind of hide it. Astec has not been that way. They've been transparent the whole time as well. I know they skate. They've sent me videos of them skating, and I think that's awesome that it's actually a group of riders. With that being said, the board comes with a 1-year warranty on all of the mechanical parts like the truck, the deck, the wheels, things like that, and then 6-month warranty on the electronics. Typically, if an electronic piece has like a problem from the manufacturer, right from when it's made, it'll show itself fairly quickly when you start using that piece. So 6 months isn't bad. I'd love to see them bump that up to a year, especially being a newer brand. Basically, every board I've had to repair in one way or another. That is the nature of e-skate, and I think to see progression in the sport, unfortunately, just these kinds of things happen. Especially when you're getting one of the very first, like this is in the first 5 units of the boards made were sent to me. So it just kind of is a risk that I take when I take one of these kind of almost pre-production or one of the first units coming off. It's just part of it. When brands come out with a great product but no customer service, they're not going to make it. So that's my note to Acetec, as they're a brand new company. Make sure you've got your customer service on point. And I really can't comment on it fully yet because the brand is brand new and there aren't a ton of customers out there with the board. So that's my note to them. My note to you guys is grab this board because it is so much fun. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. I'd be happy to answer them. Remember to use my discount code Dallas when you're buying the board. It saves you $40 off the board. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.